Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. US enters Israel-Iran conflict, bombs 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan. Iran says US violated international law. In address to the nation, President Trump says Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely obliterated, warns Iran must make peace.
Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hails Trump's leadership for striking Iran. Israel raises threat level nationwide after American operation.
President Trump and I often say, peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength.
India's Operation Sindhu gains momentum. 1,117 Indian nationals evacuated from Iran so far. Sri Lanka and Nepal thank India for evacuating nationals from Iran. The United States entered the Israel-Iran conflict by launching airstrikes on 3 of Iran's key nuclear facilities. American B-2 stealth bombers targeted Fordo, Natanz and a third site near Isfahan in an overnight operation. Confirming the attack on social media platform, President Donald Trump said the goal was to destroy Iran's uranium enrichment capacity and halt what he described as a nuclear threat from world's #1 state sponsor of terror. And US President Donald Trump said American forces conducted a very successful strike on Iranian nuclear facilities at Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan. In an address to the nation, Trump warned Iran against any retaliation after the American strikes. He said Iran's retaliation will be met with greater force.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say, we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel. And God bless America.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu congratulated President Donald Trump after the American president said U.S. military bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran. In his address, Netanyahu said Trump's decision to strike Iran will change history.
Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace. President Trump and I often say, peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength. President Trump, I thank you. The people of Israel thank you. The forces of civilization thank you. God bless America. God bless Israel. And may God bless our unshakable alliance, our unbreakable faith.
Meanwhile, in his first public remarks after U.S. strikes, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has accused U.S. of breaching the international law. The Iranian Minister Araghchi said in social media post, and I quote, "The United States, a permanent member of United Nations Security Council, has committed a grave violation of the UN Charter, international law and the NPT by attacking Iran's peaceful nuclear installations. The events this morning are outrageous and will have everlasting consequences. Each and every member of the UN must be alarmed over this extremely dangerous, lawless and criminal behavior." He added that Iran reserves all options to defend its sovereignty, interests and people. And DD India correspondent Amritpal Singh joins us live from New Delhi. Amrit, the first reactions are coming in from Iran now. Help us decode the statement by the Iranian Minister Araghchi.
Well, Iran has accused U.S. of breaching international law. Now clearly signaling that, as far as the U.S. attacking the U.S. goes, that if you read the statement carefully, I think he's trying to de-escalate it. He's just saying that they have breached international law. But I think they would want to be seen as doing something because this is an affront to their sovereignty. The American bombers went right inside the Iranian airspace, hit their nuclear sites, three nuclear sites, which the Iranians have confirmed. Their atomic agency is yet to put out what sort of a damage it has been able to cause. And if there is any, radiation leak, etc., from those facilities, but they have acknowledged that their facilities have indeed been hit. The rhetoric is flying high in Tehran about, retaliating to this attack on the Iranian sites. So I think my sense is that they would do some kind of retaliation. Where will it be? Only time will tell, maybe 15 hours, 18 hours from now. Will it be the Strait of Hormuz? Will it be, bases in Bahrain or Oman, etc.? Or would it be hitting Israeli targets once again inside Israel? That remains to be seen. But I think they would be under pressure, and the IRGC would also be seen as retaliating to that. But my sense is there would be limited escalation before the world sort of bears upon them and tells both sides to get down to the table, which they will want to be seen as reluctantly going into it, kicking and fighting. But they will finally have to go into it because they do not have much option. They are no match to the combined American and Israeli might.
Also, Amrit, given that the targets have been nuclear enrichment sites, what are the real immediate risks around the area when such a strike takes place?
Nuclear radiation is one. Because this enrichment program had been going on, and these three sites are there. Nuclear radiation is one, and if you look at what Grossi is saying, or what Anthony Guterres is saying, there is concern in the international community about the fallout from this. We'll have to wait and see what the Iranians put out, what the independent UN nuclear watchdog's assessment is after they get data provided by the Iranians. So that is an immediate concern for Iran, for the international community. The other fallout could be if escalation takes place, the destabilization of West Asia, the region. If Strait of Hormuz, as I said, is attacked, 30% of the global supply chains of oil pass through that strait. Oil prices jumping up. The world is already dealing with one war in Europe. Can it afford another in West Asia? So all these concerns remain. So these are fallouts which would be of concern to Iran, to the region, to the regional players, to even us. We sit on the boundaries of the region, to the world at large. Shivendra.
Right. Amrit, also, if you could take us through the sequence of events, or whatever information is available at the moment, the manner in which these strikes were carried out by those specialized B-2 bombers and the bunker buster bombs.
Okay, so the B-2 bombers took off from California and from Missouri. They were mid-air refueled, 18,000 kilometers of flight, go right invade the Iranian airspace last night, drop stealth bombers, the GBU-57 bunker busters, who go deep inside this facility at Fordo. Is said to be about 90 meters down, go down about 100 meters, carry out a blast, if Donald Trump is to be believed, completely obliterate the three sites of Natanz, Fordo, and Esfahan. So that's what played out. And then, we saw Donald Trump confirming that, first in a social media post, later in his remarks, televised remarks, along with his full force of the people who matter in his cabinet, J.D. Vance on his side, Rubio and Hegseth right behind him. Then Netanyahu goes on air, says, thanks to the United States of America. They call all kind of names to Iran, say they are a danger to the world, they are a bully in the Middle East, they are state sponsors of terror, etc. The Iranians have given a measured response, at least in terms of their statements. but there are also voices emanating inside Tehran calling for retribution, saying that the media at least is reporting. And remember, the media there is controlled by the state. And as, say, in China, when Global Times speaks or Xinhua speaks, it's the Chinese state speaking. So it's the same for, say, Press TV or other Iranian outlets saying that every target is American target is now legitimate target for us in the region, etc. So this is the sort of rhetoric which is escalating. We'll have to wait and watch what kind of a military response, if any, the Iranians give. The world would be working the phone lines, trying to reach Arakchi, trying to counsel them to look at some kind of to de-escalation and not take it up the escalatory ladder. The Americans would be speaking to the Russians, I'm sure. The Chinese would be approached. So all the players who matter in the game, the phone lines would be working behind the scenes.
Right. Amrit, just to understand the fallout of these developments in the region of West Asia, I mean, there is many experts, even ahead of these strikes, had pointed out a certain sense of deja vu in the way in which the Iran issue was being approached, that they've seen something similar earlier in Afghanistan or Iraq, where weapons of mass destruction were believed to be stored by America. America goes in, attacks, nothing is found, but those attacks take place. And something similar happens in Iran. There is a sense that there would be a nuclear bomb that would be developed and America goes after it, as it were, legitimacy by its own action. What could then be the fallout for the region from the past experience?
The region would destabilize. I mean, even if they are able, if Iran escalates, right now the Americans are saying they're not looking at a regime change. Basically, because at Kananaskis, Donald Trump was told off by the Europeans that, look, a regime change would lead to chaos. Now is not, the time is not right for that. That's why you saw, Donald Trump make those kind of statements saying that, oh, we're not looking at a regime change, but if they don't come to the table, we can take Khamenei out whenever we want to, etc. But we don't want to do that, and they should come back to the table. Now they've struck because the Iranians were defiant. They said no talking to the Americans unless the Israelis stop it. So the Americans have put their whole political weight behind Israel. They were behind Israel all the while, but now they've basically, come to the forefront and used their military equipment to bomb Iran. So they've taken it to the next escalatory level. Now, if Iran reciprocates, retaliates in same measure or in the range of the same measure, then it surely escalates. As you said, rightly said, that what did they achieve by when they removed Saddam Hussein, or even Gaddafi for that matter, or bombed the Taliban out and installed regimes amenable to them, Hamid Karzai to Ghani. Finally, they had to sit at the table with the Taliban in Doha, and the Taliban are back in power. It creates instability in the region. It will create chaos in Iran. The Americans also realize it. Though Bibi Netanyahu would want that. Bibi Netanyahu stated purpose would be that he would want to be seen as a hero who took out his enemies in be it the Hezbollah leadership or be it the Hamas leadership. And if he's able to get Khamenei out, so he'll be able to present to his people that, look, I have decimated all enemies of Iran, of Israel. Apart from that, nobody gains from this. It leads to wider instability, a graver instability.
Right. Also, Amrit, are you learning of any more reactions coming in? We, of course, heard from the UN chief calling it a serious escalation. But have more reactions come in from Iran's allies or proxies in the region?
The reactions are a little muted right now. I think they are waiting to study what kind of a damage. The Chinese are yet to react. The Russians are yet to react. A former Prime Minister of Russia has spoken, but the present regime is yet to react. Europeans broadly are yet to react, but we've heard the Americans speak, both the Trump administration, but also senators and congressmen. Some siding with Trump, some opposing him, saying that it's unconstitutional. He did not have the constitutional. He did not have the congressional assent to do so, and therefore it is unconstitutional. But that is domestic politics playing out. We have the UN nuclear watchdog chief expressing concern. We have the UN chief expressing concern. So the world is still waiting to see, what kind of damage has been caused and what are the fallouts. Is there any nuclear radiation, etc.? And we would see the reactions to that, because the West is in a bind. Because look at what they said in Kananaskis in that joint statement. They said, we stand by Iran not having a nuclear weapon. So what the Americans have done is exactly that, attack their uranium enrichment facilities, which they believe, despite Iran's denial that they're not working at a bomb, producing a bomb, but they are working at enriching uranium for civil purposes. But the Americans and the West believes otherwise. Though the UN IAEA inspectors have not confirmed anything to that effect. So the West is as I was saying, the West is in a bind to see how they react to this, because their stated position is that they don't want Iran to have the nuclear bomb or go on with its uranium enrichment. But they would also not want, as I said, a regime change. They would not want instability. They have augured for de-escalation. That's what the joint statement said at G7. So I think their calls, when come, that there'll be measured calls, but they will be waiting to see what comes out to give before they give their response. Shivendu?
Amritpal, thank you for joining us with those updates. Meanwhile, the reaction of the world leaders after US forces struck 3 Iranian nuclear sites on Sunday, Iran time, ranged from Israel lauding President Donald Trump's decision to the UN calling for de-escalation and some countries condemning the attacks. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is describing the American attacks on Iran as dangerous escalation, warning that the conflict in West Asia could quickly get out of control. The UN chief in a social media post says, and I quote, "I'm gravely alarmed by the use of force by United States against Iran today. This is a dangerous escalation in a region already on the edge and a direct threat to international peace and security." He further states there is growing risk that this conflict could rapidly get out of control with catastrophic consequences for civilians, the region and the world. The UN chief called on member states to de-escalate and to uphold their obligations under UN Charter and other rules of international law. He said at this perilous hour, it is critical to avoid a spiral of chaos. There is no military solution. The only path forward is diplomacy. The only hope is peace. Let's now turn to reactions coming in. Venezuelan Foreign Minister João Gil has said Venezuela condemns US military aggression against Iran and demands an immediate cessation of hostilities. And Mexico's foreign ministry has urgently called for diplomatic dialogue for peace between parties involved in the Middle East conflict. Mexico said the restoration of peaceful coexistence among states of the region is the highest priority. Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel strongly condemned US bombing of Iran's nuclear facilities. He said the aggression violates UN Charter and international law and plunges humanity into a crisis with irreversible consequences. Colombia's foreign ministry urged all parties to resume negotiations as the only responsible and lasting way out of the current crisis. The updates coming in. The Israel Defense Forces have identified missiles launched from Iran towards the Israeli territory. The IDF said in a statement, defensive systems are operating to intercept the threat. The IDF asked the public to enter a protected space and remain there until further notice. The report comes as Israel braces for a possible retaliatory attack from Iran following the US strikes. The Israeli military has said it has identified missiles launched from Iran. It urged citizens who receive an emergency alert to take shelter. Amid the ongoing Israel-Iran conflict, a breakthrough in diplomacy, India has successfully persuaded Tehran to open its airspace for evacuation flights. The result, more than 1,100 Indian nationals have now been brought home safely, with 6 flights operated so far. The latest, an airlines from Mashhad carried 290 evacuees back to Delhi. Most of them were students caught in the crossfire. DD India correspondent Tapush Bhattacharya spoke exclusively to some of the returnees who shared their stories of fear, hope and relief.
From Iran, Marshall has just landed here.
We landed safely in India. I am very, very happy. Thanks to so much for Indian government, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi and all of the author and the media.
It's a huge point because a lot of people were thinking how to get back here. Ma'am, आपका एक्सपीरियंस क्या था थोड़ा बताइए I mean कैसा रहा आपको डर लग रहा था वहाँ पे ईरान में
The Indian government and Indian embassy people were very supportive. Every day when we used to call them, they used to reply us back. ऐसा नहीं है कि they never ignored us or anything. And even the Irani people, they were welcomed us. They helped us a lot. And thanks to Indian embassy, we are back.
Huge word of the Indian government and the way Indian embassy have worked in tandem to get these people from Iran back in India safely, sound, and they're thanking the government as well as the embassy and the Iranian people out there to coordinate and make this Operation Sindhu a massive success. With our person, Praveen, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
As nations are in the process to evacuate their citizens from conflict-stricken Iran, India has extended help towards its neighboring countries, Sri Lanka and Nepal, to assist them to evacuate their nationals from the West Asian country. In showing their gratitude towards the Indian government, Sri Lanka's foreign ministry took to social media and says, and I quote, Sri Lanka extends its sincere gratitude to Government of India for the timely assistance to evacuate Sri Lankan nationals from Iran alongside Indian citizens. The act of solidarity exemplifies the strong and enduring partnership between the countries and is deeply appreciated by people of Sri Lanka. Also thanking her Indian counterpart, Dr. Jaishankar, Nepal's Foreign Minister, Dr. Arzu Rana Deuba, on social media says, and I quote, "Thank you, Dr. Jaishankar, for India's swift assistance in helping to evacuate Nepali nationals from Iran. India's support in Nepal's evacuation efforts is a reflection of strength of Nepal-India ties." The US has also initiated evacuation flights from Israel amid escalating tensions with Iran. US President Trump said on Wednesday that American personnel were being moved out of West Asia because it could be a dangerous place, adding that United States would not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. According to US and Iraqi sources, US is preparing a partial evacuation of its Iraqi embassy and will allow military dependents to leave locations around the Middle East due to heightened security risks in the region. A US official said State Department has authorized voluntary departures from Bahrain and Kuwait. The State Department updated its worldwide travel advisory on Wednesday evening to reflect the latest US posture. The Israeli military has stepped up the state of alert across the country following US strikes on Iran. All areas of the country are now limited to only essential movement. Schools and workplaces will all be closed, with only exception being for essential sectors. The US launched strikes on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan. B-2 bombers were involved in the American strikes on Iran. Donald Trump said this is a historic moment for the United States of America, Israel and the world. And to take forward the conversation on the developments, joining me is Strategic Affairs expert Mr. Alok Bansal from the India Foundation, Direct India Foundation. Good morning and welcome, sir, to the News Hour. Your first reaction, sir, on the developments since morning, America targeting the nuclear sites in Iran. Iran says America has violated international law. How should India be looking at these developments?
See, this is a dangerous escalation and a conflict that could have grave implications for India. Because if Iran responds, Iran does not have the wherewithal to respond to America and attack American mainland. It could attack American allies or American bases in the Gulf. And US has large number of bases in the Persian Gulf. It has its presence in UAE, it has its presence in Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Syria, Iraq, Jordan. So there is a plethora of places where US army personnel are present. Now, if it starts targeting and one of them hits them, there will be some casualties. But more significantly, they have talked of attacking US naval ships, which they may not succeed. But they can easily distract the shipping that is emanating from Persian Gulf and could create turbulence in the Strait of Hormuz. The second option is that Iran could also attack some of the US allies, like Bahrain, which they always claimed as their territory, or UAE or Saudi Arabia, which would have a huge repercussion because, from India's point of view, not only a significant portion of our energy emanates from Persian Gulf, but almost 40 to 45% of remittances that come to India emanate from Persian Gulf region. And India, as you know, is the largest destination of global remittances. Now, any turbulence in this period, these Indian diaspora would come back scurrying home, and that could deprive India of a huge chunk of perpetual income that we have been accruing. So one really can't say how it pans out, because now that US has struck, it may be prudent for the US to go for a regime change, because a wounded tiger would be far more dangerous as far as the US is concerned.
So in the first reactions that have come in from Iran, they've said that America has violated the international law, also related to the NPT and United Nations. Now, what are the laws that guard protection or targeting of nuclear asset? Has America broken such laws? Does America, in real terms, even come under the purview of such laws?
See, if you go by the letter and spirit, yes, these were all nuclear facilities that were declared, were functioning under IAEA safeguards, so-called. And according to the established norms, any attack on them was actually a violation of international norms. Let there be no doubt as far as this is concerned. But US has not been following. In fact, right from the time that Israel attacked, if you go by the letter and spirit of the norms, then it was a violation of the norms. But again, as US says, Iran was close to building a nuclear bomb. Now, that would have been a violation of Iran's own commitments to nuclear non-proliferation treaty. Now, if we go by what US says that they were close to building a bomb, then well, Iran was also violating norms. But as Iran has always said that they were not doing anything, and IAEA, till the recent statement, was saying that Iran is nowhere close to building a bomb, and even Tulsi Gabbard in her initial statement said that Iran was nowhere close to building a bomb. And then, of course, subsequently in her recent statement, she said they have enough enriched material to build it within weeks or months. So it depends how you look at it. Actually, this comes in that gray zone. But yes, if you go by the letter and spirit of the agreements, I think attack on a nuclear facility which had been functioning under IAEA safeguards is actually a violation of international norms.
Just spending time with that grey zone that you refer to, many experts, even before this attack actually took place, have been talking about certain eerie similarities between earlier American missions in Iraq, Afghanistan and other parts of West Asia in particular, where there was an anticipation of a certain dangerous weapon and America goes ahead and attack, and what follows is a chaos. What could happen in this case? What are the possibilities that could take place vis-a-vis Iran?
See, there is no doubt that what US did in Afghanistan, we saw. They spent decades, hundreds of troops, lives lost, billions of dollars spent, and they returned Afghanistan back to Taliban. In Iraq, they managed to bring out some sort of assemblies. As I said, if they go for a regime change and manage to bring a different regime in Iran, things might stabilize. There may be internal disturbances, but Iran could stabilize and the region could also stabilize. But if they leave at it, Iran is bound to retaliate. And that retaliation may engulf not only US and Israel, but many of US allies. Also, in this particular conflict, we have seen that the traditional Arab allies of US have by and large criticized Israel till now. How will they react as far as Iran's attack is concerned is a serious concern. Now, if Iran disturbs the Persian Gulf and Iran's allies, Houthis, have warned Americans that they will attack American assets in Red Sea, we have a major problem because the entire traffic to Europe will get disrupted because most of the traffic to Europe goes through this. If ships have to go around Cape of Good Hope, it will be a very, very big, longer time, and the cost overruns will be huge. So this has the potential to derail global economy to a very, very great extent. How it shapes out will depend on next 2 3 days, because what is going to be the Iranian retaliation will be known within next 24 hours, and how it pans out from there will actually give an idea. But there is no doubt that US attack on Iraq was on a false premise, and this could as well be a false premise because Iran was willing to negotiate, was on the verge of negotiating with US, and even earlier before Israel attacked, the second round was to take place from Sunday. The attack came just before that. And now again, the president Trump said 2 weeks, and now he is stuck again. So I think the credibility of US has taken a serious beating. And I feel under Trump administration, US credibility is going to be a big, big question mark.
Right. And sir, just stay with us for a moment while some reactions are coming in, some updates in fact. The Iranian state television has announced fresh salvo of missiles on Israel. The Iranian state media said the country has launched 30 missiles at Israel. Israeli army says it's working to intercept the missiles launched from Iran. So those are just the updates are coming in. The statement earlier came from the foreign minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, about how US had violated international law by the steps that it has taken. Mr. Bansal, again, ahead of the attack, we saw how most of the West was divided over whether America should enter this conflict. The allies of Iran, namely Russia and China to begin with, had said that America must not intervene. Within America, the lawmakers were divided if the president by himself had the right to unilaterally take a call on such a strike. What did President Donald Trump achieve personally, politically, and for America with these strikes?
See, I don't think so. Trump looks at what he's achieving. At least to my mind, he doesn't seem to be worried about what America has achieved. It's only his whims and fancies. Actually, if you look at it, Trump's second term, it's been even more whimsical than the first one. He decides and takes one course of action. His statements are erratic. And there is no doubt that there is a huge division in US. As per US Constitution, the power to declare war rests with US Senate. But of course, this is not considered as war. So this, as a commander-in-chief, the US president can take a decision, something like that, which he has done. There is a huge division within his support base itself, because people don't want to get entangled into another Middle Eastern war. As far as allies are concerned, you need to look at it. France and some of the European countries were actually extremely supportive of Iran, and they thought that negotiations could work out. But on the other hand, you had people like Germany and permanent US lackey, the UK, who were actually doing the US bidding. So there is a division, but most of the US allies in the Middle East are at this point of time not supportive of Israel. So obviously they have not, I have not seen their statements on US attacks. Most of them would be critical of US. And the fact that US has already started withdrawing its staff from Iraq embassy shows that US also visualizes that there is going to be some retaliation.
And for Israel, Mr. Bansal, what looks like the road ahead? Full of praises, of course, for President Donald Trump. Prime Minister Netanyahu says that this historic development would pave the way for, he says, prosperity for the entire region. How do we understand his definition of prosperity?
Again, as I said, if this attack culminates in a regime change in Iran, then yes, then it could be a new era altogether. Because please understand, Shah's regime was very, very friendly towards Israel. So if, as they are trying to support Pahlavi to come back, but despite regime in Iran being extremely unpopular, people don't tend to side with those opposing the regime in times of war. In fact, the Muttahida Khalq, MEK, which was a very powerful force, actually got decimated for supporting Saddam Hussein during Iran-Iraq war. Now, I'm not sure whether Pahlavi's support, which is very marginal in any case, but fortunately or unfortunately, he's the only credible leader now, because MEK has been wiped off, today has been wiped off. So whatever little opposition is, he's the most well-known leader. If he can effect a regime change, if he cannot, then you will see Iranian regime would be like a wounded tiger, and it is going to hurt US and its interest enormously, because US does not have the capacity for a protracted wall. This has been actually shown both in Afghanistan and other places, that US can bomb the places, but it would be extremely unwilling to put troops on ground. And how it pans out actually depends on next 24, 48 hours. How does Iran respond to this aggression, and what is the next course of action for US? To my mind, best course of action for US now would be, having attacked Iran, is to go for effecting a regime change. How they do it, I think with Israeli spies and the pro-US forces, they should be able to do. And maybe that is one of the reasons why Asim Munir met with Trump. Maybe they want to initiate some anti-regime forces to move in from Pakistani side or from Iraqi side.
But sir, just to recollect, just a few days ago, while Israel had pushed for removal of the supreme leader of Iran, Donald Trump, the US leadership had very categorically said that US does not want his removal. You're saying that after these attacks, they could possibly revamp their strategy for Iran vis-a-vis regime change?
Yeah, as I said, Trump's statements have no meaning. One day he'll make some statement, next day he'll make some statement. But what has happened is that all this while it has been reported that Velayat-e-Faqih has nominated 3 possible successors. So that problem, which could have emanated in case he would have been eliminated earlier, may not eliminate. But I have no doubts that as and when he passes away, naturally or unnaturally, there is bound to be some turbulence, because having visited Iran on a number of times, I can tell you that the regime is extremely unpopular amongst the population. But having said that, this is seen as an external aggression. And I think during external aggression, I'm not really sure how the population would react. But if US can effect a regime change, it may well be a big opportunity for the region as a whole. If not, then we are seeing a protracted war which could derail the global economy to a very, very great extent.
On that note, Mr. Alok Bansal, appreciate you joining us on the News Hour and sharing your perspective. Meanwhile, Iranian state television announced fresh salvo of missiles on Israel. Iranian state media has said the country has launched 30 missiles at Israel. The Israeli military has said it detected another wave of Iranian missiles heading to the country. The IDF said it is working to intercept the missiles launched from Iran. Israeli authorities also renewed their call for people not to publish or share locations and records of the attacks. Israel closed airspace for all flights. However, land crossings with Egypt and Jordan will remain open. Heading for a short break. There's more coming up. Do stay with us.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Every year on June 21st, people around the world celebrate International Day of Yoga, a practice that goes far beyond the mat. In the Netherlands, the Indian Embassy hosted special commemoration at the residence of Ambassador Kumar Tuhin. DD India correspondent Mark Lindbergh was there to capture how yoga continues to build bridges between people, cultures and countries.
Hundreds gathered at Plaza de Oriente in front of the Royal Palace of Madrid to celebrate the International Day of Yoga. Unrolling their mats beneath the open sky, the city awoke to a collective rhythm of breath and movement. This is the 11th year of Yoga Day celebrations in Spain, marking it as one of the biggest annual events boosting India's soft power on a global scale.
Loka samasta sukhino bhavan. Yoga cultivates kindness, compassion and unity. So let's breathe in purity and unity, and let's breathe out wars and hate. Happy International Day of Yoga.
In Spain, this is not the only location we celebrate yoga. This is just the one location. We have already celebrated yoga in at least 15 cities in Spain. So it's a big event here, and Spanish people enthusiastically participate in the event, and it's very interesting.
Organized by the Embassy of India in Madrid in collaboration with local partners, the event brought together diplomats, yoga practitioners, Spanish citizens, and members of the Indian diaspora in a shared celebration of holistic well-being. Certified instructors guided the crowd through sequences of asanas and pranayam, reflecting this year's global theme, Yoga for One Earth, One Health.
Being an Indian for us, it's a very proud moment that yoga is getting to each and every corner of the world. And especially in the Spain, the number of people who are practicing yoga is increasing day by day. And it's really proudful moment for us. And once again, happy International Yoga Day from Spain.
The message is loud and clear. Health and harmony are universal aspirations, now more important than ever in a world facing environmental and mental health challenges. The celebration today once again affirmed that yoga transcends bridges across continents, cultures and generations. This is Sindhu in Spain for DD India.
The 11th International Day of Yoga was celebrated in Madrid with fervor and mindfulness, set against the stunning background of one of Spain's most iconic landmarks. DD India correspondent Sindhu reports from Madrid.
Hundreds gathered at Plaza de Oriente in front of the Royal Palace of Madrid to celebrate the International Day of Yoga. Unrolling their mats beneath the open sky, the city awoke to a collective rhythm of breath and movement. This is the 11th year of Yoga Day celebrations in Spain, marking it as one of the biggest annual events boosting India's soft power on a global scale.
Loka samasta sukhino bhavan. Yoga cultivates kindness, compassion and unity. So let's breathe in purity and unity, and let's breathe out wars and hate. Happy International Day of Yoga.
In Spain, this is not the only location we celebrate yoga. This is just the one location. We have already celebrated yoga in at least 15 cities in Spain. So it's a big event here, and Spanish people enthusiastically participate in the event. And
South America celebrated the 11th International Day of Yoga with great enthusiasm as teachers, students, spiritual masters and members of the Indian community came together to mark the special day. The Consulate General of India hosted the International Day of Yoga at the iconic Ipiranga Museum. Sao Paulo has been celebrating the day since 2015.
See, we just finished celebrating the International Day of Yoga here in Sao Paulo at the iconic Ipiranga Museum grounds. And it was a very successful event with lots of enthusiastic participation from people of Sao Paulo. City government of Sao Paulo was very cooperative. They offered us this iconic site, the Ipiranga Museum, and they partnered with us.
Congratulate the Prime Minister of India for this event, this Yoga Day. One world, one health. It means that everybody must be connected for the peace of the world. Yoga has a great contribution for that. You start the peace within in yourself.
The 11th edition of International Day of Yoga was celebrated in the Iceland capital city of Reykjavik. India's ambassador to Iceland, R. Ravindra, highlighted the deep relevance of the theme of yoga for One Earth, One Health. He spoke about yoga as a powerful tool to balance human well-being with planet's needs, promoting harmony, sustainability, and holistic health. Indian Embassy in Albania's capital city of Tirana celebrated 11th International Day of Yoga. The session witnessed participation of over 160 people. Back home, nestled in the outskirts of Chhatrapati Sambhaji Nagar in Maharashtra, the village of Patoda stands as a remarkable example of civic planning and self-reliance, something India's major metros could take inspiration from. With a population of just around 3,300, Patoda has developed a well-rounded and high-quality living environment through thoughtful planning and community participation. Here's how.
Patoda Gram Panchayat has been awarded Carbon Neutral Vishesh Panchayat Puraskar for its outstanding efforts in achieving net zero carbon emissions, showcasing how rural governance can lead the way in climate sustainability. This award highlights the village's commitment to environmentally responsible development and sets an example for other communities aiming for a greener future.
हमारा गांव एक आदर्श गांव पूरे महाराष्ट्र में जाना गया है और हमारे गांव में देखा गया तो जो टैक्स धारक है उनके लिए सबसे ज़्यादा सुविधा हमारे गांव में दी गई है, जैसे कि सोलर पैनल है, हमारे गांव में चक्की आटा है, गांव में बहुत सारे कैमरे बिठाए गए हैं, कार्बन न्यूट्रल का पुरस्कार जो मिला है, जो प्लास्टिक है उसका संकलन बहुत अच्छे से किया गया है, हमारे गांव में ट्रैक्टर दिए गए हैं.
From free floor milling to hot water for bathing, clean drinking water, residents enjoy a wide range of essential services at Patoda village. Civic benefits come with civic responsibility in the Gram Panchayat because the Panchayat follows a strict system of accountability. Villagers are required to pay property taxes without fail, and this disciplined tax recovery has enabled the village to fund innovative and sustainable initiatives. Recycled sewage water is used for agriculture, ensuring crop survival even in drought years. This has not only improved yields but also inspired others in the village to adopt water conservation practices like rainwater harvesting. Symbolizing village's deep commitment to gender equality and recognition of women's equal status in society, every household proudly displays a nameplate bearing the name of both the male and female heads of the family. Infrastructure is both modern and eco-conscious. Every household is mandated to build a toilet. Solar water heaters reduce energy costs and promote environmental sustainability. Village has RO drinking water plant which dispenses clean water through vending machines at a minimal cost. It has implemented a highly efficient waste management system, ensuring cleanliness, proper segregation, recycling and sustainable disposal practices throughout the village.
और अपने गांव का बच्चा अगर पढ़ लिख के ज़्यादा आगे गया तो गांव का ही नाम रोशन करेगा. वो किस गांव का है उस माध्यम से गांव का नाम और बढ़ जाता. इस माध्यम से हमने बहुत सारे ये काम किए. उसी से बहुत सारे लोग अभी गवर्नमेंट जॉब को ही लग गए. बड़े बड़े जॉब पे कोई तहसीलदार है, कोई जज है, कोई अलग डिपार्टमेंट का अधिकारी है. ऐसे काम हमारे गांव में आज तक हुए.
Patoda's success shows that when communities combine self-discipline, transparency and forward-thinking governance, transformation isn't just possible, it becomes inevitable. Shama Mishra for DD India.
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.